Hey everyone, it's Steven. Today I have the 2023 Porsche Panamera 4 Platinum Edition. This is Porsche's full-size four-door sports sedan, competes with things like the Audi A8, Mercedes S-Class, BMW 7 Series, and the Lexus LS Series. So this is the 2023 model year. Doesn't come with too many new things. You do get standard adaptive cruise control across the entire lineup though. So no matter what trim you get standard adaptive cruise control. Pretty cool, but that is kind of expected in a vehicle that crests over six figures very often. This is part of the second generation of the Panamera, debuted back in 2017, so we actually do expect to see a brand new third generation of the Panamera in 2024, probably giving you the same interior that the Taycan and the Cayenne just got in 2024 as well. The Panamera did receive some light refreshes in 2021, giving it the full rear light bar in the back, which looks incredible. I think it makes it kind of look like a spaceship in my opinion. But I think the refresh looks really nice. You still got the classic Porsche styling, but you do have that nicer, more modern look to it. As expected from Porsche, you do have a huge amount of options in different vehicle layouts you can get. For example, you can have the extended long wheelbase version of this called the Executive. You can also get this, of course, in rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. That's what the 4 indicates in the name or the trim level of this. And you do have a few different trim levels with different engines. You can get a V8, a twin-turbo V6. You can also get an e-hybrid, which is their plug-in hybrid. So you have a ton of different options. You can get the rear seats with 2+1, which is a $1,000 option. So you can actually get a middle kind of usable seats, but generally this is meant to be an executive sedan, right? Where you have 2 people in the back only. So it's really meant to be a 4-person vehicle. Another really cool option you can get is called the Sport Turismo. That gives you that wagon styling in the back, kind of like that Taycan I reviewed, the Cross Turismo. I love the wagon styling. I really wish this one was that. You get that little bit of a lifted hatchback look in the back, and I think it looks incredible, but this one is just the normal one. So this is the 2023 Panamera 4 Platinum Edition. MSRP is for just a little bit less than $110,000. The base Panamera, which is rear-wheel drive, that one actually MSRP is for just a little bit over $90,000. So you can actually get a Panamera for less than 6 figures, but if you know how Porsche works, you probably don't want one for less than 6 figures, honestly. The one as tested here comes to about $118,000. Has a lot of packages though, so it definitely comes with quite a few goodies like that 360 surround view camera. So the Panamera 4 comes with a 2.9-liter twin-turbo V6, actually the same engine that's in my Macan GTS, which is pretty cool. This one makes 325 horsepower and 331 pound-feet of torque. That gets you 0 to 60 times about 5 seconds. Pretty cool, pretty darn fast. With the Sport Chrono package, which unfortunately this one doesn't have, you can actually get it down to 4.8, which is quite incredible for a vehicle that's this heavy, over 4,000 pounds. This engine is mated to an 8-speed automatic dual-clutch transmission, Porsche's famous PDK, and this setup gets you fuel economy numbers of 18 city, 24 highway for a combined average of 20 miles per gallon, making it relatively middle of the pack. All right, let's talk about the exterior of this gorgeous car. I love this color. It's called Volcano Gray Metallic, and it really sparkles under the crazy direct sunlight we're getting right now. We just got it washed, and I think it looks incredible. I think this actually used to be my dream car at some point when I was a kid. I just thought it looked really cool and kind of like a spaceship. But yeah, I love the Panamera. The looks are really nice. It has great proportions. The front fascia looks very classic Porsche, right? If you look at it directly from the front, it actually kind of even looks like a 911, right? Or like a Boxster, right? You can kind of see a very similar, I mean, honestly, all of their sedans are kind of like this, I guess, except for the Taycan. But I love this classic look. Their headlights are phenomenal, I think. Like, that's actually one of the biggest reasons I think Porsche does really well, is this awesome quad, like, headlights in their full LEDs right here. It looks really, really cool. They call it the Porsche Dynamic Light System. It allows it to corner and swivel and stuff like that, so really illuminates the freeways at night and things like that. This car has crazy strong headlights. Going into the other parts of the front fascia, you do have some fog lights at the bottom, and you do have turn signals that are full LEDs as well, and those are amber. And you do have some nice functional vents at the bottom to help cool that 2.9-liter twin-turbo V6 engine. I did also want to mention that the headlights actually do a really cool startup sequence. Not as cool as like the Mercedes AMG like flashy ones, but it does do a pretty neat startup sequence that I can show you guys right here as well. And then going into the rear side profile here, you've got these gorgeous satin platinum wheels. This is where you can kind of tell that it's a platinum edition, right? That is a pretty expensive package. It does come with some cool like general comfort goodies and convenience goodies, but it does have a lot of styling elements, which I think separate this from the, I don't want to say sea of Panameras because there's really not that many out there, but it does kind of separate this car and give it a unique look. When I first looked at this on the configurator on the website, I didn't really like the satin and platinum look with the Volcano Gray, but in real life, this looks phenomenal. These 20-inch wheels are called the exclusive Porsche Sport Design wheels, and they are finished in satin and platinum, look really, really nice and really sparkle. I also love the black brake calipers here. I kind of think it would look cool with like a yellow or a red or something like that, but the black does kind of give the whole car a very cohesive look. Now going along the side profile, you do have some nice, pretty aggressive body lines as expected in a sport sedan, but what I really like is this cool vent on the side, right? That kind of like shark fin thing. It looks really, really neat. Gives this car a really cool look, and that is also finished in satin platinum. Pretty neat look. Going across the rest of the side, you'll notice that it does not have that wagon look, right? So that's the difference between this and the Sport Turismo, is that this one actually has a sloped roof back that goes straight to the bottom, giving it that more coupe look. All right, and now let's move on to the rear of this vehicle. This is actually probably my favorite part of the car, and really what gives it that spaceship look in my opinion. You've got that full rear light bar. I think it looks incredible. And you'll also notice that the Porsche and the Panamera 4 lettering are all in satin platinum, finished in that really gorgeous, like kind of like an off shade of gray. It looks really, really cool. And just from this back, I mean, I love the look of those quad exhaust pipes, right? These are the sport tailpipes, finished in a high gloss black. I kind of think it'd be cool if they were also satin platinum, but it looks kind of, you know, cohesive with the rest of the vehicle color scheme, I guess. So it looks really good and it sounds really good. Let's take a listen. And I think the exhaust sounds pretty phenomenal for essentially being the base trim, right? This isn't the V8 or the E-Hybrid. Those actually sound pretty phenomenal. So going into the trunk here, you do have, of course, one button, which you would expect from a vehicle at the 100K price point. And you have a decent amount of cargo space here. You've got 17.6 cubic feet of cargo space, and you can fold down the rear seats to get you about 47 cubic feet of cargo space. All right, so let's look at the interior of this gorgeous Panamera 4. So of course you've got keyless entry as you would expect, and before we hop into the car, I'm going to show you what the key fob looks like. As typical Porsche fashion, you do have these really cute key fobs. I really like them. You can change out the color of these side blades to match your car, but I mean, this one basically matches, right? It's black, gray, kind of. You can see that you've got that Platinum Edition decal right there on your door sill, which looks really nice. And we can just kind of look at the door panel really quickly first. I mean, this door panel is a very attractive door panel. This car does have the about $3,000 package, which is the leather interior package, which gets you that nice stitching everywhere. Like there's literally leather everywhere. Definitely makes this cabin feel a lot more high quality and worthy of that 6-figure price. You've also got the nice Bose speaker cap at the bottom here. So they look pretty nice, and I do love that they are surrounded in the ambient lighting. I think that looks super awesome. I wish more cars would do cool things like that. But yeah, that is definitely one of the cooler parts of the ambient lighting. Otherwise, it's not as interesting as like Mercedes and BMW. But yeah, I really like the speaker cap of this. The actual sound system itself is a 14-speaker upgraded sound system. The normal Bose one is like a few less speakers than that. This one's 14 speakers, and it's okay. The Burmeister is certainly the better choice, but I don't think anyone will be unhappy with the Bose. I just think that if you're really an audiophile, you want to go for that upgraded Burmeister sound system, because I have that on my Macan GTS and it is fantastic. All right, I am all the way in the back, so I'm going to start this car up. You can kind of hear that low growl already, right? It sounds good. Otherwise, I mean, just initially going into this vehicle, you can kind of tell a very nice cabin, right? Like this looks pretty darn good, and I don't know if I would say this looks $118,000 good, but it definitely looks good. And the coolest part about Porsche, obviously, is just the build quality. Porsche always does such a great job with just, you know, no creaks or rattles anywhere in the cabin. Everything feels really solid. The steering wheel feels great. All of the, you know, materials used are great. I love this brushed aluminum look. Looks fantastic on the trim here. I absolutely love that look. And, you know, the center console looks a little messy. I think they could clean some of this up, but I think it looks great. I assume in the 2024 redesign, they are going to clean this up a little bit and probably give the same shifter that they have in the 2024 Cayenne, things like that. Let's talk about the screen first really quickly. So this one is a 12.3-inch infotainment screen. Uses the PCM, which is basically just Porsche's infotainment system. And it's pretty straightforward, right? You've got Apple CarPlay takes up the entire thing. It is wireless, which is pretty nice. You get both wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto by default. And it works well. Like, it's very quick to respond, it's easy to use. And overall, I think the system is really great. It's definitely an improvement over the old system. Let's talk about ambient lighting really quickly. I love this dynamic color. So you can select a few different colors, or you can choose dynamic. Dynamic will adjust it based on the music cover, which is so cool. I'll show you kind of what it looks like in the dark here, but I mean, I think this is awesome. I talked about this in the Taycan review as well, and I think this is one of the coolest things that car manufacturer has done with ambient lighting. I do love how Mercedes does the, you know, the dynamic lighting in terms of like turning the temperature up and down, but I love the album cover. I think that is really, really cool. Wish more cars would do that. But yeah, otherwise you've got all of your typical settings in here. This car does come with everything you would expect from a expensive vehicle like this. You've got blind spot monitors. You don't have rear cross traffic alert, which is super weird. That's something that Porsche just kind of doesn't do, which is very strange. And you know, you have a surround view camera that is part of the package though that comes with this. I think it's like a $3,000 package or something like that. Gets you Porsche InnoDrive, and it gets you the 360 surround camera and things like that. You do get a heads-up display as well, which is pretty cool. So because you have the heads-up display by default doesn't really show too much information, but it does show if you turn on adaptive cruise control. So you can kind of see right there, it'll show you different things like, you know, your follow distance and your actual set speed. So it is pretty useful. It doesn't show the song or anything like that though, which I really wish it did. Now going into the driver's side, what they see here is going to be a very nice steering wheel. Porsche steering wheels are honestly flawless. They are so nice, always well constructed, and feel really good. It's interesting because at first I didn't like how thin they are, but I honestly think this is way better than like what Mercedes and Audi do, where it's a lot thicker. You do have your steering wheel, heated steering wheel button right here, which is always kind of hidden a little bit. Otherwise, you've got this nice half digital, half analog gauge cluster here, which is pretty cool. I do like the display of this. I actually think this might be my favorite Porsche display. You notice how you have this button here on the steering wheel. You can switch which side you want to look at, and then you can edit what you want to see in there. So there's not too much in there. The really cool one is the map. I think that looks awesome. In this one, you really can't show much at all. You've got odometer, your adaptive cruise control, and then some like navigation stuff. And I do expect that in the 2024 redesign, they are going to be moving to the fully digital gauge cluster that you see in both the Taycan and the new Cayenne. All right, let's briefly take a look at the center stack here. So you've got your typical Porsche controls here. I do like this button. It's clicky, feels really good, but I will say it's hard to reach and touch this, you know, without taking your eyes off of the road, which is kind of annoying, but at least it's not fully integrated into the system. Please stop doing that. But you do have heated and cooled seats right now on this hot summer day. I love the cooled seats, feel really, really good. This specific model doesn't have the Sport Chrono package, which is usually where you get that little thing right here where you can adjust your drive modes, and it gives you access to Sport Plus mode. This one only has Sport. Sport is nice though. It automatically stiffens up the suspension, gets you a louder revving and things like that, so feels pretty cool. But otherwise, this is a pretty typical layout. I just really don't think you need these buttons. I don't really know how people ever use these. One thing we want to note is that this is actually motorized. It's one of those quirks that I feel like, you know, is completely useless. I don't know why anyone would ever want this to be motorized, but if you turn off the car, they actually shut. And you can actually shut them in the climate controls as well if you want. But super weird, just kind of a quirk of the car that I feel like someone just put in there to have fun. Otherwise, you've got a pretty typical shifter. It's nice. You've got the park button right here, e-brake. You do have a little storage here, which is kind of interesting, right? Can't figure out what this is really used for. I've been putting my phone in here, and it kind of sticks out weirdly, but I just don't know what this is really for. If anyone can tell me what this is really made for, it's kind of cool. It looks good, it says Panamera. And then going here, you've got two different size cup holders, one for large cups, one for smaller ones. Pretty nice. I will say it is hard to access this, right? Like, if you're the driver, I usually have to reach over with my left hand, which is kind of weird, right? Because like if I'm driving, I want to be able to kind of grab a cup from right here. I feel like that's a normal position, but instead I have to kind of reach behind. Maybe it's just because I'm short, honestly. I don't really know, but I find it a little strange personally. But otherwise, it's not too bad. You do have this accessible space right here, which is not that deep, so you really can't put that much stuff there. You do have a wireless charging pad. If you have heard, Porsche's implementation of this isn't the greatest, I think, because it kind of cooks your phone in this little pocket, so not the best thing. But you do have a USB-C here, and you do have a volt outlet charger right there as well. All right, let's look at these seats. All right, so this is going to be your black leather seats. Very boring, right? Not the most interesting design. I mean, at least you have a little bit of texture here, but pretty typical design, right? As Porsche sports seats would go, this one isn't as bolstered as some other ones. I do wish they were a bit more bolstered, and because I feel like they're kind of wide. The headrest is very comfortable, very sturdy, right? That's always what you'll notice about Porsche products, is everything is super sturdy and feels very high quality. You do have the Porsche crest on all of the seats, every single one. I believe that comes as part of the Platinum Edition. And you are able to adjust the thigh extension as well. So you do have 14-way adjustable seats, and you do have 3 memory seats for both the passenger and the driver on the front row. So pretty cool, lots of different ways to configure this. All right, let's go into the second row of this gorgeous car. I love these satin platinum wheels. You can probably hear the low burble of the exhaust. All right, I'm gonna move this, but otherwise you can already see, right? Kind of impressive given that you have a nice digital display here, and you do have ample legroom, so much legroom. This is with the seat at the normal position, 5'8", and I'll show you guys that you have ample headroom and legroom. Even with the kind of sloped roof back in the back, you know, you still have a decent amount of headroom, so I don't think passengers will have any issues with the headroom here, unless you're maybe above 6 feet. Notice that it's not one full pano sunroof, right? This is a dual pane one, so couldn't do the whole glass across the entire roof, which is unfortunate, but it still seems pretty airy, and I feel like just this car is so big and wide that you do feel like you have a lot of space here. So I will note that the windows are not the largest windows, right? This is still a sedan, so it's not going to be the biggest thing, but you do have some nice hooks, and you have some vents, and also vents here as well. You do have the same Bose speaker cap here, and the same leather, which feels really nice and high quality, and everything is just, oh, I love this brushed metal. But yeah, everything just looks really, really good, and you know, even the way the seat looks is kind of cool. I love this little passover. I feel like kids would definitely tickle people. But yeah, you have the same high quality materials back here, same pattern on these seats, the same Porsche crest. I think one thing you might notice, right, is that like the seating position is very laid back. So this is meant to be one of those vehicles where you're driving your executives and stuff like that, right? And like just the way it works, like I feel like the thigh part just like isn't as supportive as I would like it to be. Like there's just too much space in my opinion, but honestly, like these are still really, really comfortable seats to be in the back. But yeah, definitely a 4-seater. Like this one actually does have the option of the 2+1, and you know, you do have your cup holders here that you can use if you want, but this one does actually have a headrest for another person here, so you could fit another person, but notice they have no leg space, so it would either be like a child seat or something like that. You know, it's not going to be an actual like full adult here, so definitely only 4 adults can fit in here. You do have some storage here, which is kind of nice. It's a little rubber mat, and you do have heated seats in the rear, so you definitely have all of the comfortable amenities that you would expect at this price point. All right, let's take this car for a quick drive. So, as expected from a 4-door luxury sedan like this car is immensely quiet and refined when you're driving. Like, it's the interior quality, like, you can hear no creaks or rattles or anything like that. I mean, this car is literally brand new, has less than 1,000 miles on it, so I would definitely hope so, especially at this price tag. But I mean, Porsche quality is so impressive in terms of just the ride quality, right? Like, they get that right, and I mean, the coolest part of the Panamera is that you also get the fun, right? Like, you can really accelerate this thing, and it really rockets. 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. All right, I'm going up a little hill here, but I will kind of floor it a bit. I mean, you probably can't hear too much of it, but that sounds good. Like, it's the 2.9 liter V6 twin turbo, I mean, it sounds really, really good. And I think some people are always like, oh, it's the base Panamera, it can't be that nice. But I mean, if you want to step up to the S, that's really, really cool. If you want to step up to the GTS and get that V8, that is also going to be a very, very quick and fun, but also luxurious vehicle. I mean, the exhaust, right? Like, the exhaust sounds incredible for the fact that this is just the base Panamera. Again, though, the base Panamera starts above $90,000, so you better hope that you get something nice, right? But again, this is going to sound way better than the Mercedes, the BMW equivalents, right? All of those are now using like mild hybrid systems and things like that. Definitely won't sound as burbly and just as mean as this car sounds, right? This car sounds aggressive. It sounds like a true Porsche. This car really does have Porsche DNA, and I think that's something that separates it from the other German competitors, right? And like even like the Lexus LS, this car feels fun to drive. It has dynamics, right? I will note that the steering is really light, like that you know, it has those elements that make it feel like more of just a comfortable cruiser. But at the end of the day, this car really does haul fast, and it's fun. It takes corners really, really, you know, well. Like you feel comfortable, you feel planted. the Porsche's all-wheel drive system is just fantastic, and you know, it has all of the creature comforts that you need. You've got that really good heads-up display, you've got it's really large, and you've also got adaptive cruise control, which is Porsche's, it's called Porsche InnoDrive, which is actually going to be their basically semi-autonomous driving method, where, you know, it actually steers you through the lanes and things like that. It works really well, I really like it, easy to use, and it takes up a lot of the space in the heads-up display to kind of tell you about what you have set in adaptive cruise control. I think at the end of the day, this car doesn't have the best tech for the price point, right? Like, BMW's new 7 Series is way cooler, and even the S-Class, which is really one of its biggest rivals, I would say, feels much more luxurious. But you just can't compete with this car when it comes to the driving dynamics, right? Like, that's something that Porsche is going to get right? It's a Porsche. And at the end of the day, like, I know a lot of people don't really like the Panamera. It's kind of weird, right? It's like, why would you get a sedan if you want more space? Maybe you should just upgrade to the Macan, right, and get an SUV or get the Cayenne. But the Panamera gets you as much cargo space as the Macan and is definitely a quieter ride in general. Like, it's obviously much more expensive, but the long wheelbase, the just in general creature comforts of this vehicle, the quality of the cabin feels much more upscale than, say, the base Macan. Now, of course, it's a Porsche. You're going to get nickel and dime for every single small option, right? Like, that's one of those things where, like, the base Panamera starting at about 92K, good luck finding one below 100K that you'll actually want, right? Like, just at the end of the day, so many of these small things, like the leather interior package is $3,000, the heads-up display 360 camera comes in another package of $3,000. The price just quickly adds up. And I mean, it's a Porsche. They know that you're paying for the best. So thank you so much for watching. That's all I wanted to talk through today. If you want to check out some of my other content, you can click up here. I have a ton of other Porsche reviews. I love Porsches, honestly, obviously a little biased as I own one. But if you want to subscribe down here as well, leave me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about this vehicle, if you would take this over some of its other competitors. All right, thanks guys. See you in the next review. Bye.